Okay, now we are moving into where these problems get far more difficult. But again, if we just start looking at some processes, we can get these. All right, so we're gonna do two examples. This is gonna probably be a longer video, but I want to walk you through this. So what is mostly different about this is you've been faced with pretty much all the different cases that you can have when you have a leading coefficient of 1. Now what we're going to do is we're going to see what do we do when that leading coefficient isn't 1, when we have something else there. All right, so in order to show that, I kind of want to show you what's the difference. Like if you have x plus 3 times x plus 1, right? You know, you go through that and you get x squared plus you get 3x, and then you get 1x, that adds up to 4x plus 3. Well, what happens if you change those coefficients, put coefficients in front of it? Maybe this is 2x plus 3 times 3x plus 1. Well, what happens is you're multiplying these out, right? And you're getting a much larger number as a result. You get 9x there, you get 2x there, you get 11x. And then you're also multiplying these out. So what's happening as a result of that is you have to look at, okay, what is happening in order for me to get to this 3, in order for me to get to that 6, and to get to these. There has to be a way for us to figure out how to work backwards from that to get that. And you can hunt and peck with these and try things out and see what works, but there is a method. I'm going to show it to you. It's called grouping, and you actually learned it going the other way, so we're going to kind of reverse it out now and see what it looks like going backwards. So best way, let's just take an example. So the very first step when you're doing grouping is you're going to take your leading coefficient and your end term, your constant, and you're going to multiply them together. So you're going to take A and you're going to multiply it by C. So we're going to do 5 times 6 and we're going to get 30. And so what we are now going to look for is we're going to look for factors of 30 that, you guessed it, add up to 13. Okay, so 1 and 30 does not work. 2 and 15 does not work because that's 17. 3 and 10, there it is. All right, so we're going to now take those factors, and what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this expression. Okay, I'm going to go back to yellow here. We're going to write it as 5x squared, and then we're going to rewrite this 13x as a sum of 3x plus 10x. And then we have that plus 6 at the end. And then we're going to group this so that we can factor it using grouping, which you should be kind of familiar with now. So when I'm looking at this, remember when you're doing grouping, you want to look at your coefficients first. Well, 5 and 3, there's really nothing we can factor. But 5 and 10, that's a little more interesting. I can do something with that. So let's rewrite this as 5x squared plus 10x. And there is a sort of a spirit of experimentation with this, where if you do it wrong, don't give up, just try again. All right, so let's take 5x out of this, and that gives us x plus 2. All I did is I saw that I had x terms in both of these, and the lowest exponent was 1, so I took that x out, and I saw that I could factor a 5 out of both of those. All right, and then for this other term, the only thing I can factor out between the 3 and the 6 is I can factor out a 3. All right, and then that gives me x plus 2. And then look at that. All right, just by doing that, I've got this x plus 2 term. Should probably put the parentheses on the end of that. Got these x plus 2 terms that I am now going to factor out. Okay, I'm going to put that over here. And then that leaves me with this 5x plus 3. And then just like that, we have now factored this. So let's take a different color here and let's just multiply this out and make sure we did it right. So we get 5x squared. Outside, you get 3x. And you see how we're kind of decomposing it, and it's looking kind of like what we did before, right? Plus 6. And then, yep, work backwards, and look at that. Got right to the same thing. All right, let's try another one. These are only going to get easier if you do them. So same deal. Let's take our A and our c term. Let's multiply them together. Now, remember, this is from that last video. We get 6 times negative 8, so we have negative 48. So we want, or 14, I don't know where that came from. We have negative 48, and we are looking for factors that are going to multiply to give me negative 48. All right, and then that are also going to add up to give me positive 22. So let's look at our factors. So we have negative 1 and 48. Well, if I add those up, I'm going to get 47. I have 1 and negative 48, which gives me negative 47. And remember how it's kind of like you play the positive negative game where they're sort of opposites of each other. All right, let's do 2 and 24. Well, if I do 2 and negative 24, all right, that gives me negative 22. But if I do negative 2 and positive 24, that gives me positive 22. And that's our target number there. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to use these two factors. We're going to use negative 2x and 24x. So let's rewrite this as 6x squared minus 2x plus 24x minus 8. All right, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, you know, at both of these factor, so let's just leave it how it is and try it. All right, so let's take 2x out of both of these two terms, and then that gives me 3x minus 1. All right, off to a good start. And then for this one, I can take a 3 out. Okay, or no, a 3. What am I talking about? I can get an 8 out. Right, and then that gives me 3x minus 1. And then that's what we're looking for. We're looking for those cases where you've got this and you've got that going on, the same thing. So I can take a factor of 3x minus 1 out of both of these, and then we're going to finish writing this over here. 2x plus 8 is what's left. You put those in the same parentheses. Again, I'm assuming that you know how to do factoring by grouping, which we learned in lesson 5. All right, and then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply this out and make sure that this works. So we're going to get 6x squared, and then our outside terms, we're going to get plus 24x, inside negative 2x, and then you should be able to see pretty quickly that, yeah, this works. 6x squared, and then positive 24 negative 2 gives me positive 22x minus 8. We're where we started, and we're in good shape. So good luck with these. These are a little tricky, but I know you guys can do this. So make me proud.